I know many of you here today, but for anybody who I haven't met before, I'm Alyssa Vine. I'm the University Director of Credit for Prior Learning. So I sit within CUNY's Office of Academic Affairs. And my job is really helping campuses and supporting their implementation of CUNY's Credit for Prior Learning policy. As I think most of you are aware, one key component of the CPL policy is around standardized exams, including the CLEP exams. And our policy does mandate that CUNY colleges must award credit for qualifying scores on CLEP exams. And a qualifying score is a score of 50 or better on any given CLEP exam. What the actual credit award and equivalency is decided at the academic department level by faculty, but credit must be awarded for qualifying scores on CLEP exams. And with that in mind, I know that there's a lot of different ways that CUNY colleges are already utilizing CLEP as a completion strategy, as a way of helping students who maybe have taken some kind of course or training that has not been evaluated by the college. It's a good way to sort of pivot the conversation and say we don't award credit for this right now, but we do award credit for CLEP, so that is an option for you. There's some good ways that I know of people utilizing CLEP. And I think probably some of you have heard about Modern States and the work that they're doing to make CLEP more widely available and to overcome barriers that exist because of cost. And we're very fortunate to have them here with us today to tell us more about how their organization works and how we can think about its benefits on behalf of CUNY students. So today we have two colleagues with us from Modern States Education Alliance. We have the organization's executive director, Jefferson Pestronk, and then we have program assistant Carol Adasi as well. And I am here, and I am happy to chime in at any point with sort of CUNY perspective, but I will at this point hand it over to Jefferson and Carol and let them get started with their presentation. Oh,
Awesome.
and if you
Thanks so
haven't
much, Alyssa.
already, sorry, one more thing. If you haven't already, please drop your name, your title, and your college in the chat so that we have a sense of who's here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Alyssa, for inviting us in, and thanks, folks, for making some time today. I know there's never enough time in calendars, so appreciate you sharing some of it with us. Let me just quickly describe what we're hoping to do today so that folks know what to expect, and then we'll dive in. We'll do quick intros just so you know who Carol and I are. Then there's a relatively quick set of slides I want to just run through so everybody's operating from shared information. I know that some of you might know Modern State, some of you may have never heard of us before. Either of that is totally fine. Just want to make sure that everybody has some general information about who we are and what we do. And then we'll open it up for sort of questions and discussion. And that can be, hey, I've got this question about what you do. That could also be, if you have thoughts about ways that we could support what you're doing at any of your individual campuses or sort of collectively as a CUNY system, we would love to hear it. But we'll make sure that there is plenty of time for that during the hour that we have with you all. So I'm Jefferson Pestronk, as Alyssa said. I'm our executive director. I joined the organization about 18 months ago, have spent most of my career in and around public education in New York City. So it's entirely possible that we've been in some shared rooms together prior to joining Modern States. I was at New Visions for public schools for about 10 years, just a couple of floors below the CUNY offices on 42nd Street. So we may have been in elevators together if you were ever in the main offices there. Carol, you want to intro quickly and then I'll share my screen?
Sure. My name is Carol Adasi. I am a program assistant at Modern States, and I focus primarily on New York City program.
Yeah, we'll give emails and everything like that as we get to the end, but Carol will be among your best friends at Modern States. She's focused on New York City, thinks about what it looks like to engage partners in New York City. Okay, let me just share my screen. Can folks see the slides? Great. We'll share these with Alyssa afterwards, along with some other resources. So no need to screenshot or anything like that. Everything here is public and available to you. So, as I mentioned, we're a nonprofit organization. We're based in New York City, but we serve learners across all 50 states. We're about 7 years old, and we exist really for one reason and one reason only, which is to make a high quality college education affordable and accessible for any learner anywhere. And I'll talk in the coming slides mostly about how this applies to, relatively traditional students at a place like CUNY, but that any learner anywhere piece is actually really important for everyone in this call to hear. What I'll describe as our program is available to any learner anywhere, as long as you're 13 years old or older. We don't want to get into problems with COPPA and other child online privacy laws, but as long as you're 13 years old and breathing and have an internet connection, you can take our courses, you can take advantage of what we offer. And, I'm not going to go into the slides that we use to frame this for other partners or parents or anything like that. But from where we sit, there's been a lot of conversation about, college and career, about alternatives to college, about things like that. We think college is as important, if not more important, than it's ever been, but that folks are struggling with the sort of realized value of college because it's a lot of money up front for an uncertain outcome on the back end, particularly if you're a learner who comes from a family or a community or an area where you don't have a lot of college role models. And so we always ground the conversation in this idea that, we're here to make that just a little bit easier, because we think that, for most students, college is still the best path to where they want to go, to stable earnings, to consistent employment, to full civic engagement. And so, how do we work on that problem? So we combine a couple of things that have existed for, a while, depending on which of our two components, between, 15 and 55 years, but just in a way that they have not traditionally been used. So we build MOOC style online courses, by which I mean, online 24/7 available, asynchronous courses that cover comprehensively a given subject. But the big difference between us and something like a Coursera or an edX is that we very explicitly design our courses to lead to the CLEP exams. Our sort of soft critique of traditional MOOC exams is that they're great for democratizing access to knowledge, but they're not very good for helping anyone do anything after taking that MOOC course. If you want to learn about astrophysics, they're great. If you want to get a degree in astrophysics, not so great. And so the CLEP exams are our vehicle for translating what students learn into widely acceptable transferable college credits. And so, we really view it as a new model of college access for folks who haven't gone to college yet, have stopped out and are trying to figure out how to get back, who are in college now and are trying to figure out how to get through a little more quickly or fill some gaps. And for characteristics of our model, first, we pride ourselves on the quality of our courses, and by that I mean two things. One is we've built them with professors from leading universities across the country, so working with subject matter experts who teach this content, but equally importantly, students who actually engage in our courses pass the CLEP exams in large numbers. So our network-wide passing rate for students who engage in the courses is about 70%, a little bit over 70% in the CLEP exams. Not satisfied with that, low 70s pass rate, but most students who engage do well. Second, they're flexible as you would expect for MOOC style courses. Students move at their own pace and test when ready. we have lots of partners who also embed our courses into things that they're doing during the regular school day or other time and space when they're engaging with learners. So that flexibility can be at the individual level. It's also at the institutional level. And then the flexibility also really relies on the structure of the CLEP exam, right? There are lots of people at this point who are building online courses for AP exams, but AP exams are administered one time a year. And so you really have to design a full year engagement and backwards map against a common schedule for everybody in order for that to work, in contrast with CLEP, which students can take whenever they're ready. If you and I start at the same time and you fly through the course and I take a long time, totally okay from the design of our program. Third thing, everything we do is free to learners. Anybody can go and sign up. And then learners who take and complete one of our courses, completion is defined by passing our embedded quizzes and our final exam. Learners who do that can get a voucher from us that let them take the CLEP exam for free. Modern States will pay those costs associated with them sitting for the CLEP exam. For folks who know CLEP, it's a good value, $95 for an exam for 3 or 4 credit hours that would otherwise cost $500 to $3,000. But a lot of the students we care about couldn't put their hands on $100 for an exam if their life depended on it. And so we just take that off the table for everyone. We don't ask you whether you need the support or not. Anybody can get the voucher through us. And then last thing, this is one of the things that Alyssa talked about at the beginning. The CLEP credits are valuable. CUNY accepts them system-wide. So do about 3,000 other colleges and universities across the country. So, if you were to go to our website, sign up, look at our course catalog, what you'll find is one course for each one of the 30 plus CLEP exams. A student can sign up and take one of the courses. They can sign up and take all 32. We are happy to accommodate learners who do either of those extremes and anywhere in between. The modal number of courses that a student takes with us is 1, but lots of students take more than 1, and we'll give you as many vouchers as you earn. Obviously, you can't necessarily use all of the courses towards a degree at a school like CUNY. Residency requirements and things like that at a traditional bricks and mortar school, but students can, in most cases, earn a year or more of credit. And then, once you sign up for one of these courses, what are you going to experience? You'll pick the course on our website. There's a set of video lectures that are, organized by module and then submodule. The individual lectures themselves are anywhere from, about 3 minutes to 10 minutes, depending on the topic, accompanied by free and open source textbooks and embedded quizzes and exams that help learners along the way, track their progress, and then that allow us to validate learning for the purpose of ultimately issuing the CLEP exam. Christine, I see you've got a hand up. You want to come off mute and ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I love Modern States. I've advocated for Modern States for quite
Love
some
to hear
time
it.
now. So I wanted to ask, can a student get a second voucher for the same exam?
Yeah, they can.
Really?
So
I'm
we'll
very surprised, but that's a good thing.
Yeah. So we'll issue second attempt vouchers. College Board puts a 3-month cooling off period
Yeah,
in
they have to
between
wait 90
attempts of
days.
the same CLEP exam. I'll give a slightly longer answer that is a little more nuanced for this group because it sort of informs some things for the future. So at the moment and historically, really all learners have had to do is put in that request for the second attempt voucher. We won't award it until we have the score back from their first attempt, so that we know that they actually, used the voucher. But we'll award it to basically anybody at this point in time. We occasionally may ask a question or two. We get some folks who will request a second attempt voucher, even though they scored 50 or higher on the first attempt. because they want to go to a school that has a cut score that's higher than 50. So there are questions like that that we'll occasionally ask. Moving forward, we're starting to do some analysis looking at how likely students are to pass on a second attempt if they haven't passed on the first attempt, and to compare that with what they do in our courses after they took that first attempt. And so we may start at some point in time requiring that students either re-engage with our courses or pass our final exam again to make sure they're still well positioned to pass the CLEP exam. But
so they're able to get it now without redoing the modules and without redoing your
Yep.
smaller tests.
Yeah, that's right.
Ah, okay. So I should
That's right.
basically be pushing this right now before that changes.
Yeah, and just to make sure you're hearing about somebody who's taken a CLEP exam that we haven't awarded can't come and get a voucher from us without taking the class. If it's a student who took the CLEP exam, walked into a testing center off the street and they didn't pass it, and then they want to take it again through Modern States, they'll have to take our course and pass our exam
No, I
in
know.
order to
Wait,
get the
yeah, no,
voucher
that's
from
not.
us.
I'm
Yeah,
talking about somebody
yeah,
that did the modules, did the test the
yep,
first time around, took the CLEP, failed the CLEP, now
yeah,
is inquiring about getting a second
that's right.
voucher.
Yeah, that's right. And Carol will roll her eyes at this. Internally, I talk about this idea of the Spider-Man principle, which is
Mm-hmm.
with great power comes great responsibility, right? What I
Mm-hmm.
ask folks like you all to do is help us screen students up front. Don't suggest it to a student who is, not
I
committed,
completely
not
agree.
implying, not implying that you do.
I completely
Just
agree. And that's why I
yeah,
think the test is actually
yeah,
important because
that's
for
right.
me in our school, I can tell you right now, here
Yeah,
we have a higher percent, it's higher than 70%. I have like a
yeah,
100% success
yeah,
rate.
yep,
We want them to pass those tests. So, like I tell students, modern states want you to pass the CLEP. So, if you
that's
cannot
right.
pass their version of a test, that's going to
That's
give
right.
you a good indication of where you are before you take the CLEP exam. So, it's really
Yeah,
beneficial for everybody. But for
that's
us
right.
here, I have a 100% success rate. Every
Yeah.
single student that has taken and passed the modern states has passed their CLEP exam, which is amazing.
So, Alyssa, if you could share the recording of this Zoom when we're done so I can clip out that video of Christine saying that, because it's easy,
Pour
it's
me up. I can
easy
do
on
a
that.
commercial for
Right.
you.
No,
Listen,
well, yeah,
no.
it's easy for us to say on the prior slide that our courses are high quality and they prepare students for exams, but it's a whole lot more powerful to hear somebody who's actually working with students say that.
Yeah,
So
we
appreciate that,
actually
Christine.
included it in our presentation in the
Yeah,
CALE conference this year as
yeah,
well.
great,
We included you
great.
guys a part of our presentation and helping students that way. So I'm
Yeah,
glad to be here. Thank you very much.
yeah, my pleasure. Um, uh, I should say, if as we're going along, folks have questions like that, please do just use the hand raise function, and I'll pause as we're going. I'm not going to go into CLEP exams. This is an audience that knows that. I'm not going to go into widely accepted credit. This is an audience that knows that. Just to give you a sense of, what Modern States looks like above and beyond the engagement with CUNY. So we'll cross 700,000 learners served later this year. We've awarded 200,000 vouchers. It's about 20,000 years worth of college. About 75% of the vouchers, ultimately get used. We're slowly adding in nudges and other things because I can't figure out why 45,000 free attempts don't get used. But and then close to $200 million in tuition savings estimated, and those numbers are growing year over year. So we have well over 1/7 of the learners we've served who were active just last year. So three other quickish things, and then I'll shut up. We can all talk. So three different ways to think about Modern States. So this one is just, say you wanted to go sign up, say your family member or your students or anybody else wanted to go sign up. What do? Go to register.modernstates.org. You'll run through our learner registration process, which is just 3 pages, takes less than 5 minutes. I will note that we ask a set of questions as part of the learner registration questions about, a learner's race and gender and family income and things like that, none of those have any bearing on a student's eligibility for modern states. We do it entirely so that we can understand who we're serving and increasingly look at who is succeeding with our program and who isn't. Again, none of those questions pop up in terms of eligibility or anything like that. And any of them that are sensitive have the ability to answer prefer not to disclose / don't know. And so folks don't have to give us information they're not comfortable with, but it's really valuable for our internal improvement. Learners can take, 1 or 32 courses. They can start 31 and be like, none of these are for me, and then hit it with the 32nd. But as long as they engage with the course and complete the quizzes and exams, they can then request a voucher from us. At that point, they exit our system, they enter College Board system. Folks here are probably familiar with what that looks like. But then hopefully they pass their CLEP exam and come back and earn even more credit with us. So that's the individual learner perspective. Let me actually just flip these slides and go on, and I'll come back. So from the individual institution perspective, what does it look like to use modern states? There are sort of 4 ways that we see institutions of different types using us, from least intensive to most intensive. So model 1 introducing here literally is what you're doing right now. If you go and tell some student that you are supporting or who's enrolled at your school that modern states exist, you're doing model 1. It's just making sure that anybody who's trying to figure out how to get to college, pay for college, stay in college, knows that we exist and support them in doing that. Model 2 and 3 are about creating some social structure around the opportunity, right? It's having academic advisors check in on students who are taking modern states courses to help them through. It's creating study groups. It's providing ad hoc or sort of structured tutoring for students who might otherwise struggle. Model 4 may not be so relevant for this audience, but maybe it will be. We have high schools that very intentionally integrate modern states content into courses that they offer during the regular school day, essentially as sort of enrichment or expansion of access to advanced coursework, so that students can take their high school course and take a college level course at the same time, and at the end of a term, take the high school exam and the CLEP exam, and basically bootstrap advanced coursework access. So that's what Model 4 means. Integrating might mean something different for this audience, and if you have thoughts about that, I'd love to hear them when I pause in just a minute. And then last thing I'll say, and then I promise I will shut up. So the other thing we think about is where in a learner journey modern states fits in. And this is a place where I actually think this is relevant for everyone in this room, and actually spanning all of these age ranges. Models 1, 2, 3, and 4, points of intersection 1, 2, 3, and 4 here are just illustrative, but we have partnerships where high schools are using modern states for early credit accumulation, and or colleges are using modern states for streamlined admissions and acceptance. Purdue University has what they call a fast start program. A student in Indiana who takes and passes 5 CLEP exams can gain assured admission to Purdue. It's a way to make sure that students who could succeed at Purdue but might not have access to the type of coursework that would prepare them know that they have a path into the flagship university of the state. Summer Bridge, thinking about what happens before students enter college, right? That they can get a head start, maybe building on what they did in AP classes or elsewhere, or just otherwise early opportunities for incoming students to get off the ground strong. CUNY, I know, does a lot of work here with programs like ASAP and other things, and there may be interesting ways to think about that. Third is Finish Line. I was talking to the head of enrollment for a very large state college system earlier this morning, who shared that she took a CLEP exam when she was about to not graduate in 4 years, and that was the thing that actually got her over that finish line. Exactly what finish line means. Students who aren't going to graduate on time or by the end of the year, but for an accelerated opportunity to earn credit. And then number 4 is one that we're increasingly interested in, which is re-engaging some of the 40 million Americans who are in this some credit, no credential bucket and sort of are in the worst of all worlds. They've put time and money into college, oftentimes have debt, but don't have that credential that will generate value because nobody's giving you half the salary premium of a college degree for 2 years of college being done. And I know that this is also a space where CUNY has done a whole lot of work. So I'm going to shut up, open the floor for sort of questions, comments, but also, if there are ways that as individual campuses or, as a network, this resonates. We'd love to hear that as well, because we exist to support folks who are doing the work that you all are doing. Cool. I will ask a question of folks then. Yeah, Sharona.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think this is so exciting for lots of reasons. So I'm wondering if something that this could be used for, and I don't know if anyone else on the call could weigh in, is, we have some students who are kept from coming into our college, right? We're a senior college because of their math scores or their English scores, and whether this could be the difference. Sometimes they just need brush up, sometimes, whatever reason is, they don't meet those criteria. But when you talked about a summer bridge program, I've got so many ideas here. So I don't know if there's anything that would keep that, because, right, we've developed these co-curricular models rather than remediation.
Yep.
But if we could work through something like this. The other thing is, I think this is a wonderful thing for the adult literacy programs that are all connected to CUNY, that maybe they could start offering some courses that could make the difference between people thinking about college or not in those adult literacy programs where they have no money. They don't think, just opening up a lot of possibilities. So sorry, I just have a lot of ideas and thinking about it. So thanks. I guess I would ask, is anyone using it to make the difference between someone being quote, the former remedial, or being able to go right in to the campus?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anybody who's using it that way, Sharona, but I think that these are interesting points that you're raising, and I think they're reminders to me of other audiences among our CUNY colleagues that might be interested in learning more, in addition to the credit for prior learning world that we invited today.
Shorna, there's one thing that question, it's a little bit tangential, but not totally, is making me think of. So one of the ways that CLEP acceptance varies across colleges and systems, I don't know that this is the case at CUNY, but across the country, is whether students who have failed a class in the institution can use a CLEP exam to earn credit. Most colleges and universities won't let you earn credit on a CLEP exam for a class that you have failed in the institution, which at one level I get. At the other level, it means that a student's journey towards a degree and a student's ability to stay on track is constrained by the access to that course within the institution itself. And it's doubly odd in places where the institution will allow a student to gain that credit for the exam if they hadn't taken the class at the institution. And so thinking about this question about, what would happen if a student was trying to transfer to a senior college, one reason why they might have that gap on their transcript is because they failed a class at a community college. And in that case, my best guess is that it wouldn't solve the problem. But in addition to helping more students get to and through college, if there's anybody who wants to work on policy advocacy, I'm here for it. We do that as well, and would love partners in thinking about that. Yeah, Lillian.
Yeah, hi. A follow-up to Sharona's comment, we're both from Brooklyn College.
Yeah.
I really, really think this might be a very interesting presentation for Enrollment Management Council because if this could be used in some way, because as Sharona said, and it really breaks both our hearts, when a student cannot be admitted to the senior college because they don't have the math proficiency. So this might be a really interesting conversation with the enrollment management group as a whole, so this could be discussed because if there's any way we could use this to help such a large number of students, particularly coming out of the pandemic, we're seeing this more and more. And again, it's heartbreaking to us. And, we want the students to have the opportunity. So again, thank you so much for this presentation.
Yeah, and very happy to talk with whatever sort of other groups help flesh out engagement here. We're New York City based. We love all of the 50 states and all of the school systems across the country. We love New York City more. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I had another comment in terms of particular audiences for this. And I'm from Hostos Community College. We have a lot of students who are immigrants who English is not their first language. And so one way we've been using CLEP already is to try to get students credit who speak Spanish or French as their first language. But I think this makes this modern, I'm actually very intrigued by it because I think first off, the cost of the CLEP exam sometimes has been a challenge to get students to pay for it. And so having this model where they could take the course with you and then get the voucher for the exam is very helpful, I think. And I could certainly, see this, we have, sort of we actually have 3 different sort of groups in this category at Hostos, and I'm assuming at other community colleges as well. We have our CLEP students, Community Language Immersion Program. We have our ESL students, because we have ESL courses in our Language and Cognition department. And then we also have ESL classes in our Continuing Education division where, so any of those 3 groups of students, I think, would potentially be interested in this. But I'm particularly thinking of the ESL students in the degree side of the college, because oftentimes they get kind of stuck where they're taking ESL classes for, a year, or so, and they're not really getting any other academic courses, or if they are, maybe they take 1 course a semester. And this could potentially be a way for them to get credit for their Spanish knowledge or their French knowledge by taking a CLEP exam as they're, going through the English. Obviously it's important for them to learn the English so they can succeed in all of their other classes, but at least they already have the Spanish for some credit.
Yeah, and Carol can talk about this a little bit, but there are a bunch of high schools across New York City who have used Modern States and CLEP in that same way to support students who bring a real language asset to the table that often doesn't get recognized to earn some college credit if they speak Spanish or if they speak French, particularly if they need some support with sort of formal language that you would end up with on an exam like CLEP. The one other thing that is not language related, but is similar to that, we have at least sort of anecdotal experience of immigrant students who have a credential from their native country that is not accepted here, even though they have the knowledge necessary, right? The particular example I'm thinking of is a woman who is a physical therapist, had a physical therapy degree from India, which was not recognized here. She was able to use modern states to earn a really substantial share of the credit she needed to get a credential here in the States that would allow her to, practice her career, which she couldn't do otherwise because she didn't have the sort of domestically recognized credential. And so ways that that an institution like CUNY could support an immigrant population to take advantage of what they already have. Christine, other?
I have a random question. Why did you guys change the end of modern states and what they have to do? So we've been using this for a very long time in LaGuardia. So I feel like I could be a modern states advocate at this point. Why did they change that? Because I am finding this is where students are getting messed up at, because you guys added the copy and paste URL. Like, I'm like, why would they do this? Why would you guys create a barrier like that for students?
Yeah, so let me explain what Christine is describing. So when students complete one of the Modern States courses, they have to submit a request to us to get the voucher that lets them take the CLEP exam for free. And historically, we had asked students to submit a screenshot of their progress in the course as evidence of their course completion. A couple of months ago, we shifted that to asking that students submit a URL that links to what's called a course award in D2L Brightspace. And so we did that for two reasons. And Christine, maybe the thing that will be better than my explanation of why is the description of what's next. So it's an interim step. What we're building right now and expect to have rolled out in the next month or two is a process where people don't have to submit for the voucher anymore. You get to the end of the exam, the final exam, and if you've achieved a passing score, you get presented with a button that says, would you like a CLEP voucher? And you push the button, and our LMS will talk to our backend systems and validate that you have done what you need to do and meet all of the criteria for getting the voucher. And it will just process the request and then send it right back.
I love that idea. I'm gonna push that for you guys.
No. No, you don't need to push anything. We're literally just waiting on an API connector between two systems. So if you guys
do want any type of feedback, I will tell you right now, like I've had to adjust because you guys made that change. And the issue is that people are thinking that they're submitting a request and they're not. So like, it's just so, you guys just made it like unnecessary steps. The student has to click on award, then they have to copy and paste the URL, then they have to put it here. And I'm just like, I don't get it.
So the reason why we did it is we were getting more screenshots than you would expect that were photoshopped.
Okay,
and
so that makes sense
URL,
to me. I get it.
The URL is a unique thing that when somebody submits that URL, it brings us to a page that is built into D2L that we can see the learner's progress. But I was hoping that by the time we made
though, at least I understand why you guys put it there. But I will say, like, so like usually when my advising, when I'm going through the steps, because I walk them through it, I create the account and everything with the students. It makes a difference to everybody else on this meeting. I find that when I'm with the student and I'm helping them sign up and I go through those steps, it's more effective than just saying, here's the website, go and sign up on your own. They like that connection. I'm finding that more and more as we're coming out of the pandemic. They want that personalized attention. They want to even come in person. But I am finding that now I have to adjust my advising, and I am being very specific now. Like I couldn't just give that, like now I'm like, make sure you're reading it correctly, because a lot of the times they'll think that they're done and they'll go, like there's a way that they could do the request without copying and pasting the URL. So I've actually had to, like, it's very strange. So now I have to tell the students, read the end carefully, Like I have to literally say, make sure you're copy and pasting the URL. Otherwise, you are not actually submitting a formal request for the waiver code.
Yeah.
So I did
So
want to give you
I'll
that
apologize
feedback
for I'll
about
apologize
that
for
one
that
little
shift,
part.
and beg your forbearance. That was, we were hoping that the streamline process was going to accompany the LMS transition, and something that is out of our control that the D2L has to build just wasn't ready when we were expecting. But we didn't want to hold off on the other things for that part. There's a little bit of clunkiness in this interim period. So appreciate the support you're providing to students to get through it. And if there's anything that, from a guidance perspective, we could put in the courses or on the site that would clarify it for folks who don't have the handholding from somebody like you, send us an email afterwards. We're very happy
You'll
to
get the
integrate that
email.
feedback.
Ask Alyssa. You'll get
Yeah,
the
great.
input from me. I promise
We
you.
we want it. Yeah, we want it. Other questions or comments?
One thing that I just wanted to reiterate, that I had said earlier on in before the presentation started, was that, I think that the the idea of looking to CLEP and looking to modern states in situations where students are presenting like courses or trainings that they have done through organizations that your college has not evaluated. I really think that this is it's a good use case, because I know that it can become really fraught and complicated in conversations with students to need to explain that we haven't evaluated this, and no, we can't evaluate this on demand. We can't, because it involves faculty, like they're just, most colleges, not all colleges at CUNY, but most colleges just don't have the manpower and the bandwidth, and the faculty engagement in a department by department way, to be sort of responsive to every request from any given student who took this continuing ed course, or who, at any, not at CUNY, anywhere else, or somebody who did this training program at their job, or who took this online course through Sophia Learning, or those types of things. And I know many of you, and I know that saying to students, no, we know that you did this and we can't help you and we can't honor that with credit, is not the way that you want to respond to students whenever possible. And I think having this as something to turn to that isn't going to cost the student more money, it will take some of their time. And it will call on the expertise maybe that they already have acquired through other channels. But I think that as a resource is like a really important use case for and it has come up, in a lot of the conversations that I've had with many of you. So I know that people are aware of it, but I just wanted to reiterate it in today's conversation that it can be a different conversation with a student than, no, we can't award credit for that.
So, well, folks certainly shouldn't stick around on our behalf. I'm happy to stick around, Carol. Carol and I both have this blocked out until 4 o'clock on our calendar. So to the extent that there are questions that you want to ask that you didn't want to ask in front of the whole group, or things that are just popping into your minds, we're happy to stick around. We'll also share the slides and some other information with Alyssa to circulate to this group. We're happy to engage in sort of other system-wide conversations. Also happy to have conversations with folks on the call individually about what this could look like at the institutions that you represent. I consider it a personal failing of my leadership of the organization that we don't have more engagement with CUNY and more CUNY students enrolled in modern states than we do, given that we're New York City based and we're making a big push with the DOE as well. So would love to work with anybody who is thinking that this solves a problem that you have or that your students have, and getting to that degree. Yeah, Sharona.
Yeah, I know this must be maybe a little hard to answer, but I'm sure you have some stats what sort of is the average amount of time students,
Yeah.
it takes them to go through a course of yours?
Yeah, so your caveat is exactly the right one, which is that the variation is as much the story as the actual amount of time. But we say 20 to 25 hours if the student is watching all of the videos, doing a decent chunk of the reading, and then taking the quizzes and the final exam. But the tails on either end are all the way down to very little time on the short end and multiples of 25 hours on the long end. We also, just in case this wasn't obvious for folks, it may not be, we exist not just to help students get the CLEP vouchers, but to the extent that there are students who are, in a college level calculus class and just need somebody to explain a concept to them differently. Most of the stuff covered in an entry level calculus class has a module on modern states, and the marginal cost to us to have one more learner on our platform is functionally zero, and so it's a great way for learners to just get access to explanations and re-explanations and another free textbook, and things like that. People can use us without imagining that they're going to take all of a class, without imagining that they're going to take advantage of the voucher. So that, that's as valid a use as any other.
Jefferson, there's a question about what percentage of questions must a student answer correctly to receive a CLEP voucher? If you can.
Yeah. So they've got to score 75% on our final exam. And they, if they take it and discover that they didn't and they need to restudy some things, they can retake it. But yeah, they've got to clear that 75% threshold.
Amanda, that's a good point too. Opportunities to work with advisement for students missing graduation requirements or have missed readmission date or no longer receiving financial aid. Those are good use cases too. Thank you for chiming in.
Just to clarify, it's because I thought the actual test was 70. So the 75 I thought was like the coursework. I just want to make sure that what I'm understanding is correct.
It's to get the voucher at this point is just based on how they score on the final exam. In our new LMS, you can't access the final exam until you've completed the quizzes along the way. And you've got to average 75% on those in order to unlock the final exam, and then score 75% on the final exam to be eligible
so
for the
75
voucher.
is not a 70 on the final exam.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's
right. This may be repetitive. I'm sorry, I was concentrating on what I was writing in the chat, but just for everyone's, in case you're not aware, students may retake all of the questions, all the check for understandings as many times as they want. They can take the final exam as many times as they want, even though it has a 90-minute counter on it. They can take as long as they want. So for a dedicated industrious student, any student can acquire a voucher from us with hard work.
Well, Alyssa, just before everybody drops off, just want to share our appreciation to you and everybody for pulling this together. Carol dropped our email addresses in the chat. We'll send around the slides as well as a couple of other things. Christine will be calling on you to work with our communications team to do a success story. You think I'm kidding, but we roll those out with some regularity, and having those stories not just from the learners, but also from institutional partners that we can then share with other institutional partners is
Sure.
hugely
I
valuable.
have some amazing students that have
Also,
taken, like I have
yeah,
incredible stories.
all the better. Yeah,
Equal
great,
to the Indian story. Like I have some
great,
amazing students that have
great. We're always on the
benefited
lookout for
from
it.
modern states, seriously.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, thank you very much for
Amazing.
this amazing tool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through it and to answer our questions. And consider the door to CUNY wide open for ongoing conversation. And I'm sure that you will be hearing from some of the folks here, and hopefully starting to see more CUNY students heading this way as well. But we really appreciate your presentation today, and I suspect that the recording that we've done today will reach a wider audience as well, and we can also think about whether there are other audiences at CUNY that would benefit from a similar session.
Great.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Stay
Thanks,
warm, everybody.
everyone.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much. Take
Nice
care.
day.
See ya.
Thank you, everyone.